But my biggest thing with like defensive linemen is that I know Andy, you always say you need butt and gut. I feel like I feel like what we need is thighs and buys. You know, yeah, that's right.
I like that. Thighs and buys.
Yeah, that's right. We need someone who's like just got super strong legs and super strong arms just to toss around the center like a rag doll. You know. So
Yeah.
All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Bolt Bros. Bolt up.
Let's go.
Bolt Bros. Hey!
Well, let's talk today about the mock draft. Let's talk about what the Chargers are going to go after. And, and really the one that matters and everyone really is talking about mostly is the first round, right? And I first want to preface this with what is the relationship of Tom Telesco and Brandon Staley in the draft, right? They had one draft already, okay, which was during a pandemic. And I'm not even sure if a lot of even the coaching staff was even near each other because we were on lockdown during that entire time, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So I look at like what Telesco has done in the draft. He's done a really good job of finding really good deep value in undrafted players, and doing really great. Like look at Austin Eckler, look at Michael Davis. Finding, they were undrafted players.
Right.
Austin Eckler was an all-star Pro Bowler, right? And amazing. And so, so my question to you guys is, what do you think the relationship is going to be with Telesco and Staley? And I also preface this by thinking about the Marty Schottenheimer, A.J. Smith times when A.J. Smith was GM and Marty Schottenheimer was the coach, and they never talked to each other, never had conversations.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like that's going to be the same way with Telesco and Staley. It seems like they're going to be doing a lot of working together and coming with a plan together to make the best team they have. Because, again, what Staley talked about at the end of the season was, I'm creating a team. Now we have to create a championship.
Yeah.
So what do you think they're going to do moving forward on this draft to really make sure that they pick the right players? And, what do you think each one of them individually bring to the table? James, we'll start with you.
Yeah.
I was kind of just thinking about the presser that Tom Telesco had. He talked about that, hey, I support him 100%. I'm just trying to book basically the best players with strength and best position of advantage as much as we can. And we're going to basically do that together as a team, which is good. I mean, and that's pretty refreshing to be able to have a GM and head coaching situation.
Yeah.
To where they're very open with each other and they're on the same page. And
non-cantankerous. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Let's not make it a contentious situation. Let's try to make sure we make a championship team. And I think that all these decisions are going to be they're going to be in agreement of what players they want to go with. And I think do a great job of building off the team. I mean, you could even kind of go back to even what they did with the draft. I mean, Asante Samuel, that was a great pickup, I think, in the second round. Mind you, he did have some concussion issues. Obviously, Rashawn Slater killed it. Josh Palmer did a fantastic job adding depth to the wide receiver position. I mean, I think that they're just on the same page, and that's a huge advantage for our team to make sure, because I'm sure there's other GMs and head coaches out there that are butting heads. And it's always tough to be able to have a GM that has been in there for years and years and years to be able to have a new head coach in. Now, I think this is the third head coach that's been under Tom Telesco. And so keeping that relationship good with each other and keep it very open is critical for this team. And I think we're at a very critical time where this team could go to the next level. And I think we have a great chance going in this offseason to be something special next year.
Yeah, with 11 picks. And I'll say this too, one last thought before we go to Kyle, is that you brought up Josh Palmer. Telesco was under fire for that pick. I don't know if you recall.
Really?
Everyone's like, why the heck did they
–
why did you get Palmer? They thought a lot of people had him projected like late fourth round, maybe early fifth round.
Really?
Now, I will say this. It's very clear, and I cannot remember the draft specifically, but I remember Telesco specifically saying, because he's had a lot of picks like that that were picked way early, and they're like, why'd you pick him? He was slated to be like, fourth round or whatever, and he said, well, that wasn't our board, right? Yep. And it's clear he picks what he thinks is best for the team.
Yeah.
So I ask you this, Kyle. Do you think that's going to be – well, obviously the answer is yes. That's going to be the go-forward strategy. Let's pick what's best for the team. But, I mean, how do you think Telesco and Staley are going to manage that moving forward, right? Because I think, yes, they're a team. We see that. But, what's your general thoughts on that moving forward?
Well, yeah, I mean, Tom Telesco and Brandon Staley definitely have a very good relationship. I 100% agree with James and with you about that. And so I believe that they are definitely in constant communication about who they want and what they want on the board, and who they're trying to pick. And I really feel like, because looking at the 2021 draft picks, according to analysis from DraftKings Nation, I can drop that website in there. They definitely addressed all their needs that they had. And obviously some of them were absolute legendary picks like Slater, and some of them have yet to prove themselves. But that's okay. I'm actually looking forward to seeing how Roundtree does next year, for a running back in their 6th round pick. And obviously Trey McKitty, I'm looking forward to seeing him playing again too. So that was a need that we had. So let's see how that develops. And so I really think that Tom Telesco and Brandon Staley are going to really focus and work as a team to find the players that they need. And obviously Brandon Staley has already mentioned that he really needs a lot of defense. Like he needs to focus on that defensive line. He needs to focus on our backfield, and even our midfield with the linebackers. So we need a ton of defense players right now. People that make a huge impact on our game tomorrow.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
And so I 100% believe that Brandon Staley's going to kind of steer Tom Telesco to pick as many defensive players as he can. We do probably need maybe a wide receiver here, maybe another running back, because some of the free agents that we're losing, and I mean definitely cornerback, definitely defensive tackles, and so this is going to be a very defensive heavy draft, and I think it's going to work out in our favor too, because of Georgia basically having their entire defensive team up on the draft this year. So
that brings up a really good point, right? So let's maybe discuss round one, right? Okay. So there's 3 people that keep coming up for the Chargers, right? And it's 2 defensive players and 1 offensive player for our first pick at number 17, right? So we have George Karlaftis, edge rusher for Purdue, defensive tackle Jordan Davis, Georgia, and offensive tackle Trevor Penning, Northern Iowa. And, I would like to say I kind of look at those guys. I've watched a lot of videos. Trevor Penning just seems nasty, right? That guy just seems like a bully, like a playground bully, And so I guess, James, why don't we start with you? What's your take on those 3 players, and what's your thoughts on who you think the Chargers are going to take and maybe why?
Yeah. And pick 17 is kind of a tough pick because it's kind of like, personally, in my opinion, it's your best player that you're going to choose, at whatever position that could fill a need. And, it's last time we had pick 17, we got Derwin James. And I remember him falling all the way to that point.
Yeah, he was supposed to go way high, of course.
Yeah, I think he was trying to go to the Jags at 8 or 9 or something like that, and it just didn't happen for some reason. And
I'm sure he's much happier than that, though.
yeah, right. Yeah, I'm sure he's way happier being here.
Yeah.
But yeah, going back to some of those picks, obviously, everybody knows the elephant in the room is our defensive line. Mm-hmm. You think of Jordan Davis, a guy that's 6'6", 340, an absolute just beast dude on the field. I mean, that guy's an intimidating nose tackle to be able to see a center have right in front of you. I mean, he's a run stuffer, and that's what we need, and that's what we have to have. One thing that I saw, and I was watching over one of the games, I think it was a game against Florida, and they showed a stat of when he's on the field. Basically, he cuts half the yards per play when he's on the field. I mean, it was
Wow.
2.7 yards per play, 3.5 yards per pass when he's on the field. Like,
Yep.
that's pretty good stats to think, because how many 6+ yards did we give up first down? Like,
all the time.
Mm-hmm.
it was all the time.
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
like third and shorts anytime, if it even
Ridiculous.
got to that point.
Yeah,
I
right.
mean, we were terrible on third down, stopping it.
Mm-hmm.
If we could have a guy that could do that, that would be a massive upgrade for us.
Yep.
So
we need some big nasties on that line for sure. I agree.
100%. We need something like that. And you know, it's tough to be able to think. I mean, Justin Jones being in the free agency, will he be coming back? Will he fit well with Jordan Davis? Who knows? I mean, that's free agency talk.
Right.
Trevor Penning, you know, it's interesting about him because I mean, once again, he's just nasty out there. He's just a 6'7" guy. Great. He would be a great right tackle. Really, really aggressive. But I do get a little worried about overly aggressive players, because I think, like, will they get a penalty at the wrong time of the game because of being overly like aggressive? I get scared of that. And but young kid, I mean, obviously having him on the right side of the line would be absolutely a phenomenal addition. You know, and there is a side to me that I think, and maybe I'm a little bit like biased, but Trey Pipkin played pretty well when he was on the field. So there is kind of that level of, hey, do we give a guy who was a third-round pick a couple of years ago, which was kind of one of the reach players that Telesco went after?
Yeah.
Do we give him another shot? Like, I don't know. I mean, that's to be find out, or to be found. Find out. Am I talking correctly?
Bro. All right.
Hey, man, I was outside a lot, dude. It's warm out here.
Baby.
Hey, it's warm out here too, and man, it's all good, you know.
But then also with George Karliftis, is that how you pronounce his last name? Is that it? He's from Greece, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So we're gonna have the Greek freak on our team now.
Yeah.
You know, and based upon him, it sounds like he's one of the best power rushers in this class too. Sounds like he's got ideal length, separation skills. I mean, he doesn't really necessarily have like the ideal length and separation skills as an edge defender, but he's basically refined as a puncher to be able to really get into the push the line, get the line back as much as he possibly can at the point of attack. So I think that it's something that, you know, obviously we know Joey Bosa could do on the other side. We just need that guy on the right side. Now, once again, who knows where Nuwasu is going to be? You know, I'm hearing that he's like 25, and Nuwasu's 25, came off a really good second half of the season. Yeah. He could be getting paid by a lot of teams out there. So we have to think about that edge side. Now, once again, I mean, you even look at some of the 2021 draft picks. Is Chris Rump going to be that guy too? I mean, he didn't do bad when he did play too. So, so those are just kind of my. There's a lot of shifting that's going to go on here, and it's going to be a very, very, very fun off season to be able to watch how this all unfolds starting in March.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah.
Kyle, what's your thoughts?
You know, I actually really do like Trevor Penning for a first-round draft pick because, I mean, what I look out for, like, you know, first-round draft picks is a position that actually can make a strong impact on the team from day one. Immediately, you know. And so an edge rusher is one of those positions. A cornerback is another one. Potentially linebacker as well. And so that's kind of why, like, I almost, like, any one of those positions for us would be super clutch. Like, if we can maybe get, like, you know, someone who just gets nasty and gets into that quarterback, like, as fast as possible. I mean, because I loved, like, some of the days that we had Joey Bosa on one side, and then Melvin Ingram on the other side. Dude, he was, though both of them were just, like, sandwiching quarterbacks left and right. Like, I love that, and, like, that would be absolutely amazing to do. However, I will say that Bosa, obviously, he takes the more favorable side by going up against the right tackle as opposed to the left side. So that's why Bosa, I think, gets a lot more sacks. You know, it's like right tackle is a little bit weaker of a position, in my opinion. But then when it comes down to, wait, did I say I said Penning for the edge rusher, didn't I? So I meant to say,
did.
yeah, I meant to say
Karlaftis.
Karlaftis for the edge rusher. My mistake there. You know, that's my thing. I mess up people's names all the time.
Some of these names are tough sometimes, man. It's crazy.
Well, you know, I was looking at I was looking at Penning on his stats, not Karlaftis, so I immediately just went there.
Yep.
Yeah. So, but then also I do like Jordan Davis as well. Like so. But that's the only thing for me too is that like I feel like as a defensive tackle, I don't feel like that's gonna make a big enough impact for us right away, like an edge rusher or a linebacker would, because I feel like we just need to have someone who can stop the run, and I mean Jordan Davis obviously could do that, but I don't know I don't know if we want someone that young in the front because I think we may want to get actually somebody with more experience on our defensive tackle line as opposed to drafting somebody new for the defensive tackle.
Yeah.
You know,
one thing I was going to say.
Let me just summarize what you guys are saying. So, Trevor Penning would be the guy if you are going to make a statement that you're going to protect your biggest asset, and that's Justin Herbert, right?
Justin Herbert, exactly.
Right.
So, but then Karlaftis is, hey, we think we have enough people to stop the run, and we need to actually put more pressure on the quarterback, which we didn't do a whole lot of this year. We did all right. Joey Bosa did fine.
Yeah.
But Jordan Davis is the guy that's going to mess things up on the line, right? The whole point of Brandon Davis is, or Brandon Davis. I'm messing with it now too. Brandon Davis defense is the three linemen, right? Yep. And by the way, what if we don't re-sign Linville Joseph, right? Because if you get Linville Joseph re-signed, you have Jordan Davis on the line. Mm-hmm. That's two big boys. Because Linville Joseph was double teamed the entire season, right?
Yeah.
They double teamed him, period, and that was it.
Yeah.
But if you had like Jordan Davis, Linville Joseph, and again, the big knock against Jordan Davis is that he's not a three-down defensive lineman. He can't be out there all three because he's so big.
Yeah.
Right.
First and second, got to come off on third, bring somebody else in. But the argument would be that Jordan Davis at least would stop the run better for the Chargers immediately. I don't know. I kind of think Jordan Davis is my pick, but I also think there's some ups and downs with him as well too, right? I mean, as long as he can be a long-term guy for us as well. So that would be my pick.
What's interesting is there was a lot of articles out there talking about the player that we need to pick at 17 is a right tackle. Like they kept saying Trevor Penning is the guy that will be able to make us a championship team. So it's kind of almost like they're trying to say the league is based upon offense, not defense. So you need to make sure you protect your number one asset, like you were saying, which is obviously Justin Herbert. And that right tackle position could be that key indicator, because I mean, they think about where our line is. Our left side of our line is basically Pro Bowlers. Like, I mean, phenomenal guys. I mean, even to say like our right side of the line, once we started having injuries, it just became an issue. I mean, if you look at the left side, when we rushed and the amount of yards that we made versus the right, it's a vast difference. So we became a one-dimensional rushing team because we're always going to go to the left every single time.
True.
So that right tackle position seems to be the big key indicator for us. I mean, now, once again, everybody gets hung up on this whole Jordan Davis guy. He obviously sounds like a great guy to be able to have in the middle of the line. This is a very, very deep defensive tackle draft.
Yes.
And there is even other free agents out there that we could even say, kind of what Kyle was saying. We could look at other guys with, some years in the NFL that could fit really well for us. So I'm not really I will not be disappointed if they end up going with a right tackle, or my pick, and I think would be phenomenal if he falls, is Devin Lloyd from Utah. I think if we could have him in our linebacking core, because to be honest, our linebacking core is a little shaky.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Kenneth Murray, he really didn't work out that well this year. I mean, there was a lot of times he was getting crushed.
Yeah.
Kaiser White, he might be leaving. Nuwasu is obviously an end, but he could be leaving too. Yeah. I mean, we really got to think about that second level of our defense too.
Right.
And so if we could get Devin Lloyd out there, who to me kind of reminds me a lot of like a Darius Leonard type, who is from the Colts, kind of like a tweener kind of guy, same type of measurement, 6'3", 230 kind of guy, all over the field. he could get some picks. He could get to the line. He could rush to the quarterback. He could fill the gaps. I think he would be phenomenal.
Yeah.
Now that's just kind of my dream pick of where to go to. Now once again, I'm going back on pick 17 is kind of like best player available kind of thing. So if they graded him as like a top number 1, if it falls to there, I wouldn't be surprised.
Right.
And I've seen some mock drafts where he's gotten to that range. So who knows, man?
Right.
I mean, it's such a weird position to draft because it's like, to me, it's always best player at that time.
Right. Well, you know, I mean, that's it. Yeah. So, I mean, that's actually a good point. I mean, because when you actually look at ProFootballNetwork.com and you look at their draft simulator, they actually have the first round as like 2 different parts, as you know, from the 1st to the 16th picks.
Yep.
And then to the 17th to the 32nd. And so we're literally on the first pick of the second part of the first round. And so, like, you're right. Like, I mean, it's going to be, like, best available at that point, you know? And it's a good point you bring up, too, because, I mean, I'm looking at what other teams need of the 17 teams before us. Pretty much all of them need a cornerback. A lot of them need defensive linemen. And, I mean, the Texans, they basically need every position. The Jaguars, need every position outside of running back or quarterback. So, I guess that's my fear too. Is that, like, I mean, Jordan Davis is a hot topic. I don't think he's going to be available for us in the 17th pick.
Yeah. And Trevor Penning may not be as well too because he did so well at the Senior Bowl.
Exactly.
Right? And I mean, that guy's nasty, right? So you never know how that's going to play out, right? I mean, it's always chess match at this point too.
Yes.
I saw a lot of mock drafts where the Chargers even traded up.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, because we have a lot of picks at the deeper rounds, right? I think we have 4 picks in the 6th and 3 in the 7th, right?
Yeah.
So we can maybe, you know, trade up. You know, I guess maybe we should talk about the rest beyond round 1, right? Because again, we have round 2 through 4. Those are just 3 more picks.
Well, I wanted to you actually sparked a thought in my head actually about, like, trading up. It's like Tom Telesco does not have a strong history about trading up.
I was going to say that he does not do that at all.
Does that?
But he did do that for Kyler Murray or Kenneth Murray too.
He did, he
yeah,
did.
It's interesting. If I have a knock against Tom Telesco, is that he's not much of a wheeler or dealer, right?
No.
Like, he does get out there and hustle that way.
Yeah.
I think he puts a lot more effort into the draft. And so I guess let me ask you a question on this, right? Because my thought was this. See, I think Telesco and maybe Staley would even say, you know what? Let's use all of our 11 picks and build a team. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And I think it will be defensive heavy, right? We'll probably have maybe 75%, you know, defensive players, 25% offensive players. And then they're going to do the rest in free agency.
Sure.
So what's your thoughts on, you know, trading up? Because he hasn't done it in the past a whole lot. He did it with Kenneth Murray, but I think that was kind of an awkward situation in that regard. But do you think he's just going to stick with what he's got, or do you think he's going to get aggressive? I mean, because, again, you think about with Brandon Staley's aggressive.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right? So he might say, look, this is our guy. I need him. And he might go sooner.
Yeah.
So what's your thoughts on that? James, maybe we start with you.
Yeah, you know, and he did even say in his presser that he appreciates his aggressiveness. And, you know, that could be the on-field and off-field mentality too.
Yeah.
And I do think with the amount of picks that we do have, I have seen some mock drafts where Trevor Penning kind of even gets to the later part of the first round.
Yep.
So what's not to say they pick somebody at 17 and then they find a way to trade off a 2nd and a 3rd or something like that, or 2nd and 4th, to be able to jump back into the 1st or even to the early part of the 2nd, to be able to even go after somebody else that they have on the board that they have very highly ranked. So I think with the amount of picks, I mean, we have a lot of free agents also on our team too. So we have a lot of positions to fill.
Yep.
I think it's totally possible this time. And I think if there's that one guy that they have very high ranked as like a 1st round guy that they could get kind of late in the 1st, I think they could do it. I think this is a time that Tom Telesco can make, and I'll call these championship based moves. make that move to be able to put ourselves in a better position for a championship next year. And what if that's an AFC championship, if that's an NFL championship? I mean, let's hope it happens in our lifetime. But I think definitely this is a time that you can make that move, and you should make that move. I think because once again, we have to think about the Justin Herbert rookie contract. It's coming up. We have to pay him a lot of money.
It's going to be a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, we have to make those moves now. This is the time. I mean, so yeah, I think he's going to make a move. I think he has to make a move.
Yeah.
If I was Telesco, I'd probably be having conversations right now with Justin Herbert to lock him up for another 6 years or so.
Yeah.
Right now, and make it happen, ASAP. So
yeah, and I did see some people talking about that too. I did see some people saying like, hey, they should start talking with Justin Herbert about a contract. And it's interesting to think about it now, just after 2 years, to where, I mean, then again, you think he hasn't got to an AFC or playoffs in his first 2 years. He hasn't gotten, obviously, to an AFC championship, just kind of like just Joe Burrow. So you could essentially get a little cheaper situation right now. Now, would Justin Herbert be like, hey, I want to do another year to be able to see if I can up my contract higher? So who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, Kyle, what's your thoughts on that?
My thoughts about him, TT, trading up, would really just depend on what position we're trying to trade or trying to get for our first round pick. I really feel like if we're gonna go for a cornerback, I think we're gonna trade up, because it's really deep that a lot of people want a quarterback, and I actually think that would actually be really good for us because we're losing. We're probably gonna let go of Chris Harris Jr.
Harris is gone.
Yeah, and I think that Michael Davis is good, but he's not a lockdown quarterback, and I really feel like we need a Ramsey-like cornerback for the Chargers as well. Like we need like a lockdown cornerback, like 100%. And if there's one of those in the draft, I don't know who I picked. I was thinking of.
Sauce seems to be the one guy. Ahmad Gardner seems to be the guy that a lot of people are talking about.
That's who I thought about too, is Ahmad Gardner. Yeah. And like if we can get someone like that, because like I feel like the biggest problem with our defense was we did not have enough takeaways. Like we had hardly any interceptions, hardly any fumbles recovered. And if we can like actually create those situations more, we'll be in way better shape. Because like obviously like our points scored and points scored against us was very equal, and it's because we didn't have enough stops, we didn't have enough takeaways, and so that's just my thoughts. Is like I feel like to land the plane, like I think we're gonna trade up if we're going for a cornerback, not any other position. I think there's like you said, it's very deep on like the defensive line and linebackers, but I don't know if like there's going to be great players available for us as a cornerback for the first round, for the 17th pick.
Yeah. Well, and we can also wrap up maybe by talking about a few other major people we want to bring in, for the later drafts, rounds, right? Obviously, we have 4 in the 6th, and we have a number in 3 in the 7th, right? So, we got a lot of picks here, right? And again, all this is subject to change, trading, moving picks here and there. I'm kind of hoping. My thoughts are this. I kind of think we should just go with the 11 picks we have unless somebody gives us a smoking deal to move up, or move down, right? It's, what if we were moved? Let's say maybe like Jordan Davis keeps moving down the list, or maybe Trevor Penny keeps moving down, and someone approaches us, hey, we'll give you a 4th round pick to move up, to 17th, and they were ranked 21st or whatnot, right?
Okay.
Yeah. And my thought is, it wouldn't be a bad thing for us to maybe, just go with the picks we have.
Yeah.
Because not only do we need to worry about defense, right, which is obviously a huge problem, but our special teams were abysmal last year, and we haven't talked about that, right?
No.
If we get more defensive players typically play special teams. And if we just get depth, cornerbacks, wide receivers, linebackers, and have them out on special teams, they're on the game, they're on the field, they're there for depth, And again, we saw that when we didn't have good people behind our starters, we didn't do well. Look at the Texans game; that was horrible. I mean, the Texans game, that was just unbearably horrible to watch.
That was a preseason game, and we lost. Yeah.
Horrible.
Yeah.
I think, maybe we could pick a couple of people that we like in the later rounds.
Sure.
James and Kyle, there are a few that you think we should look at or target before we wrap up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting. One guy that I was watching in the Senior Bowl was Travis Jones. He was from UConn. Once again, I'm going back to the depth of the defensive tackle because I feel very strongly that we have to attack that position. And this is a very deep draft for that. I don't mind going a little bit more younger with adding in some veteran to it. Obviously, Justin Jones could be added to it. I mean, we could look at Akeem Hicks as adding him to the whole mix too. But Travis Jones is another guy. He was a stud at the Senior Bowl. I think he might be one of those guys that you might be able to get into the third round, maybe fourth. But 6'4", 326, big dude. I mean, that's a lot of meat in the middle. And once again, he could be kind of that same effectiveness in Jordan Davis. So he basically had very good hands, good short area quickness. I mean, all you really want from a guy who's a defensive tackle is like filling the gaps and making him double team to be able to open up for everybody else. Now that could open up for Justin Jones, if we had Akeem Hicks or whatever it might be. That's one of those guys that I'm kind of going to keep an eye on through the draft process, and even when he gets into the combine too. See how his measurements start coming around.
Yeah.
Because I don't really look at the combine very much, like as in like, oh, this guy's really fast and he should be a great pick because he's fast. Well, we've seen that before years ago with the Raiders, where they just choose a super fast guy who can't catch the ball, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I don't really look at those. I really look at like on field when they're playing a game. What are they doing good? What are they doing bad? Because I feel like anybody could just figure out how to run around some cones and do pretty well at that. And I just don't look at that as like real like numbers, in my opinion. So, but Travis
Eckler in that regard, right? I think he probably did well in the combine. He didn't do well on all those drills, but on the field, he excelled.
Yeah. Huge difference. And that's where these undrafted guys that come out of nowhere that get overlooked just because that they don't measure well, like through, East-West Shrine Bowl, Senior Bowl, Combine, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of guys out there. And I think this year there's going to be some interesting guys that we're going to pick up that are undrafted that are going to end up doing really well for us. Because, once again, we have a lot of openings for jobs on our team with a lot of loss. So, a lot of people that could be leaving. I mean, we can't sign everybody.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting. But Travis Jones is the first guy that comes to mind in later rounds that I think about.
Yeah. Kyle, you got anybody?
Yeah, I mean, like, so from the Georgia side, I like Quay Walker as a linebacker, and also Devontae Wyatt as another defensive lineman. Like just some more people to kind of like shore up our defensive side, like the front line and like and our backers. Both of those, like we need a solid inner, like for Quay Walker, we need a solid inner linebacker, and someone to really just to spy on the running back, maybe spy on the quarterback, whatever, and just fill those gaps on our line. We just need someone like that, and like I feel like Quay Walker was solid for Georgia to do that kind of thing. And then Devontae Wyatt, he's, I don't know if he's going to be available, but, well, I mean, to go back to it is that I don't think Jordan Davis is going to be available at this, like, on our first round pick. Maybe this could be a second round pick for Devontae Wyatt. But yeah, we just need him to punch that center and really just kind of gobble up people. But my biggest thing with like defensive linemen is that I know Andy, you always say you need butt and gut. I feel like what we need is thighs and buys. Yeah, that's right.
I like that. Thighs and buys.
Yeah, that's right. We need someone who's like just got super strong legs and super strong arms just to toss around the center like a rag doll. So
and again, when we think about Brandon Staley's defense, right, the whole point is the three guys on the line disrupt. Right. They're not there to sack. They're not there because they basically cover a gap and a half, right? So they're blocking a gap and a half each time.
Yeah.
And you want that size, right? And again, that's partially why I really do think we're going to go after a defensive lineman our first pick right now. But having said that, I will say this: I got a couple of people that I think I looked at, I thought looked pretty good. So maybe in round 4, maybe late round 3.
Yeah.
Nose tackle Neil Farrell Jr. from LSU. Guy is big. Just a big 6'3", 333 pounds.
Yeah.
He's LSU, right? You know, so he was highly drafted out of high school.
Yeah.
He did really well in the Senior Bowl. Another guy could be interesting, an LA native, Drake Jackson, edge from USC.
Yeah.
But he suffered an injury, so he may fall down the list.
Okay.
Because I do think we do need another edge rusher as well, too, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And one other guy, I remember watching this guy in a football. I cannot remember who Minnesota was playing. Big offensive tackle. They're projecting maybe 3rd round. Daniel Falele from Minnesota. He's only been playing for like 5 years. And 6'9", 380.
Yeah, that's massive. That is massive.
Dude, what? What a beast.
And the thing is, like, he's good at, because again, you alluded to this earlier, James, right, where we ran better on the right side than the left. We averaged 6 yards per carry on the left side, as opposed to 3 yards per carry on the right side. What does that tell you? Every defense knows, great, they're going to run the ball to the left. That's what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so that's where the balance of the line is good. If you can keep it 50-50, hey, we run just as well on the right as we do on the left. Hey, that's Steelers offense, right? That's the Ravens offense. That's exactly what they do. So, it really will be interesting. But I think, I don't know, I guess let's just wrap it up here with a couple of thoughts. My thoughts are, look, I will say this. I really think that we should just go with the 11 picks that we have here, and we just build depth, Get a good farm system, get some good people for depth. I mean, I even look at people like Brandon Fehoko. He did a great job when he came in, right?
Yeah.
And, who knows who could step up and be one of our starters for next year, right?
Sure.
And at the end of the day, right, I think Telesco and I think Staley are going to be good enough to pick the right players at the right time to build a team. Because the other question I always have in free agency is, does this person fit our actual culture, right? Because look, I mean, you could go get some. I mean, Antonio Brown, the guy leaves during a game, gone.
Yeah. Takes off all of his gear, throws it into the freaking
What a back job, right? And so, okay, is this person really going to work, right? And the nice thing about getting somebody drafted is you bring them in, they're excited, and you teach them the Charger way of doing things, and that's. If there's one thing I saw Brandon Staley do, Telesco and Brandon Staley both can develop. They can see talent, but Brandon Staley develops the talent.
Yep.
So that's the way I view it. You talked about Trey Pickens earlier, and I tell you what, Trey Pickens was horrible under Anthony Lynn's, but he was a stud. Like, he's a great backup. Could be a starter just about anywhere. So, anyways, those are some of my thoughts. James, what's your thoughts? And then we'll go to Kyle.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting thing. One other guy that kind of came up to mind too. I think he was in the Senior Bowl. Was Christian Watson was another, and this is once again a wide receiver. And I guess I'm looking a little bit at the side of what's to say if Mike Williams ends up leaving or whatnot. I mean, mind you, Christian Watson is another guy that, and very, very much in the later rounds kind of situation, but he could be one of the first guys or wide receivers getting drafted out of North Dakota State. I mean, he's a very fast guy from what I'm seeing, kind of a tall kind of guy too. He had 4 receptions, 61 yards in the FCS National Championship. To be honest, like, these are guys that are out there. Actually, the running back from BYU was another guy that I saw too.
He's solid. He is solid.
And there was, I think, if I was reading some of his, and for some reason I cannot think of his name for some reason, but he was another guy that I thought about because we really need to find that true second guy.
Yeah.
And Justin Jackson, he has times and flashes that he's looking great, and then he's injured for 5 games or whatever, and then we're figuring things out again.
Yep.
That back from BYU, I guess it was like after the first initial hit, he's like, one of the tops in college football for yards after like first hit.
Yeah.
And
so Tyler Algier.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
He was a converted linebacker to running back.
Yeah. So, I mean, those are guys that you start thinking about later in the round that I think could be really impactful base players for us.
Yep.
And once again, you even think of, can they do special teams too, just like what you were alluding to, because I feel like special teams is built later on. The first 3 rounds of the guys are the starters.
Yeah.
So 4 to 7 basically are like, could be those gap filler guys, those special teams kind of guys. So you got to put that out there too. I mean, I think about Kassam Osgood back in the days.
Yeah.
Maybe Christian Watson might be that same kind of guy, a speedy kind of guy that could be that point guy for us for our special teams. Who knows? I mean, that's where I guess I start going to and start thinking for speed and guys that could fill some of those second or third positions for us on our team. And I think this is going to be an awesome draft. I'm really looking forward to this draft.
You know,
it's going to be fun.
One thing I'll say too about Tyler Algier, that guy's nasty. He enjoys the contact. Remember, Kyle, you and I were at the USC BYU game.
Yeah.
And he was out there just busting up USC players left and right.
Absolutely.
And I mean, in last
Left,
game of the
right,
season
didn't
really matter.
Yep.
And it was just incredible, just smashing folks. And we thought, man, is he going to come back out? Nope, he goes right back out and he just keeps playing.
Yeah.
So, his final record was 1,601 yards rushing, 23 touchdowns for BYU last year.
Yeah. Incredible.
Right.
Incredible. Yeah.
So, but you know what? He's a late round pick, I think, that they could get, and he could be. Here's the thing: Austin Eckler would be the finesse guy.
Yeah.
Algier would be the bruiser back, right? The 2 or 3 yards that you need to go get. That's my thought.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the LT versus the the Burner Turner, Michael Turner.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
remember him back in the day, dude? I mean, it was the bam and the boom,
Mm-hmm.
like.
Yep.
I think we really need that, and we've really missed that too. And actually, while I'm kind of thinking about some other players too, Matt Ariza is another guy.
Yes.
The punter. Yeah. I mean, who wouldn't want a guy that could kick a ball 80 yards? Like, holy smokes! See you later, ball.
Yeah.
That's out. That flips the script on teams. So I think it's a great choice.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
What do you think?
I do. I was gonna mention Matt Ariza as well,
Cool.
because
Sorry, I jumped ahead of you.
No, it's totally fine. Yeah, I know. It's all right, man. Just jump on the gun. No, but like, the only downside to that I would see is that if we are gonna continue to go for it on 4th down, we might not need a studded punter, but at the same time, like. I think it would be important for us because potentially, when we don't have a great punter right now, I think Tai Long's good, not great, is that maybe that was a reason for us to continue to go for it on 4th down as well. It's just like, well, we're not only going to be able to punt it 45 yards, so let's just go for it, and to see what happens, Yeah, so I guess that's my thing. I will say that there's another reason why I think Tom Telesco might want to trade up in the draft is because the Eagles have 3 first-round draft picks this year.
Crazy.
And that's freaking wild to me. And to go back on your comment about a solid running back too, they actually have a restricted free agent, Boston Scott, who did put up really solid numbers as a running RB2 for them, and he could actually be that guy for us to help Austin Eckler, relieve him, and like actually both of them could actually be putting up solid numbers a year. I would love to see both of them get 1,000 yards in rushing if we get them both or whatever. Like, I think that would be amazing. I don't even know if that's ever happened for two running backs to get 1,000 yards rushing.
Yeah, and that'd be a really tough thing for us with Justin Herbert in the backfield too.
Yeah,
exactly. He's going to be hucking the balls around all over the place, and
right.
And Boston Scott's a good idea to be able to look at. My concern is that Boston Scott is a smaller dude. He's like 5'6", so like a little bit smaller, but he is a bruiser. He is a bruiser.
But you know what? Darren Sproles was also like 5. 5'8", I think it was. So hey, let's bring back the lightning bug, baby.
That's right, dude. Lightning bug. Let's go.
That's right.
But I think these are all really good points. It'll be really interesting to see what happens with the draft this year. I do think that. Look, I will just say this. I think Telesco and Staley, in summation, will do a very good job of picking the right talent for this team, right? I think they've built a good team. They just need the right pieces to be filled. Mm-hmm. Again, I think it's going to be a very defensive-heavy draft for sure.
Great.
But I think they're also going to pick the best available players, right? The thing that I always think is that they can make the talent work.
Yeah.
But we're just missing a few pieces, and if they can get those pieces filled, sky's the limit for us.
Yeah.
Yep.
I agree.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, totally.
I agree. It's going to be a fun one, though. It's so many picks that we have, and the potential of even trading. It's going to be an interesting draft for us all around. But I do think it would be interesting to kind of see what it does end up being as a 75% defensive draft versus an offensive choice of players. Because it was interesting in going back to kind of Brandon Staley and Tom Telesco, kind of what they did in the offseason. This was one of the first off seasons that they actually did a lot of pickups for free agency and adding to the offensive line. How many Tom Telesco teams did we have terrible offensive lines? And not to say we had a fantastic offensive line going into this year too in 2021, but we definitely had a much more improved offensive line.
Yeah.
When
was the last time that we've had a Pro Bowl, player on our offensive line? It's been a long time. It's been a really, really long time.
That's true.
Corey Linsley and Rashawn Slater.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly. And not to say I think Odeo Bushi did a fantastic job when he was in there. And to be honest, I think it's another guy that we need to pick up again.
Yeah.
And Filer, Matt Filer did a fantastic job for us too. So it's just making sure that right side of the line's fixed. And I think we could do that through obviously free agency, and we could also do that through the draft. So it's going to be, man, I'm just looking forward to this off season. It's going to be subscribe, share, and watch our videos. Let's go.
Just remember, Bolt Bros, here we go.